welcome to this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Based, and joining me is Marco Warren, the captain of the Pembroke Hamilton Club Zebras, PHC Zebras, better known, um, who have won 2 trophies thus far this season. Their season's not over. First of all, welcome, Marco. Thank you very much for taking this time out to have a chat with us. Um, we just want to talk about, this season, obviously coming off of that disappointment of last season. I don't,
Yeah.
PHC didn't win any trophies last year, did they?
No, we were in the runnings for I think most of them, and we came up short in every single one of them. So
Everything,
yeah,
including that heartbreaker at the National Sports Center, where you guys lost 3-2 to Dendy Town in the FA Cup final.
yep, absolutely. FA Cup final. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was our last shot, and yeah, we came up short in that one
yeah.
too.
So let me ask you, in the off season, everybody was talking about the fact that you had, what is it, close to 20 guys leave the club, 20 players or 20 registered players leave the club, or
Uh-huh.
something in that area.
Uh-huh.
What was the thought process for you as a captain? Um, seeing so many people leave and what you had around you left at the club.
Well, my thoughts at that particular time was to see who's gonna leave and to see what we're gonna have. But before any of that was to go down, I wanted to make sure that we had a direction to go to make players want to stay, right? And honestly, I had a feeling that particular day was coming, and I was always going to be secure in what I was going to do with myself. I just wanted to make sure that we had the pieces around us to still be able to compete and coexist with the other competition in this league. I'm not too sure of the amount of guys that left, but it was quite a few instrumental players. But we did end up gaining a lot of good pieces in the right positions, and I think that proved its value this year.
Yeah. We do a Sunday show, the football show and so forth. And one of our early discussions was, now it's your team. With already Sequoia had gone a couple of seasons before the season before. Now Antoine has gone, another leader in a team. Now it's your team. It's your chance to lead a group. Um, you're one of the older of the younger guys,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
how did you kind of embrace this new challenge?
I look at this year similar to the first year that our coach Trotty took over,
Mm,
where a bunch of players did leave during that season, and he gave me the captaincy, and I had to lead a group of guys that I played with before, and some people that were young and not so much experience. So I thought that this season was a little bit similar to that. So I had already had a little bit of experience in what I wanted to do and the things that I wanted to implement as a captain. I was just happy that gave me a much stronger voice within the team, and I embraced that. I knew that I had to risk sort of being unliked to sort of help get the best out of guys. But I
mm.
think that's what I kind of do best, is to understand each and every different personality that we have on the team and know how to get the best out of them. And I think that I'm happy with what we've achieved this season, given the criticism that we came under at first. And I know a lot of people didn't expect this out of us. And at first, we didn't really expect this from ourselves. But once we felt like a real sense of direction, it's important to see what that does to a group of individuals. And we guys pretty much didn't look back. And we have one more thing to play for. But I think we're all happy of the progress that we made individually and as a team.
Sure. One of the things we all
Yeah.
talked about and before the season started was that PHC will have a night venue. It was a big thing after
Yeah.
so many years of having to play in the daytime, using Somerset as your night ground. Now you're home. You got a venue to call home at night. That excitement for you and the players around you building up to the season. What was that chat like amongst the players?
Oh, everybody wanted to play a night game at Zebras. Everybody wanted to do that. I think it breeded some competition in the team as well, just to try to be under that atmosphere. And I think that's a lot of the times what Bermuda football is also missing, is that particular atmosphere that players are looking to play under. So I think that that was a real landmark for the club as well. So I'm happy for everyone who helped make that happen. But everyone was excited about that. Of course, we had to make amends for us not bringing the win during that particular day. It wasn't written in the stars for that to happen, but we definitely made amends from it with the success that we had this year, and we owed that to the club and to the fans and to ourselves. So yeah, we're happy about that.
Yeah. Prior to the season, okay, you know these guys are going, you know what you're getting yourself into this coming up season. You personally, what did you do to ensure that you were in the best shape to then work on everything else as far as a captain, a leader? Because you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah,
What were some of
sure.
those things you worked on?
To be honest, Mr. Basin, I was actually very, very worried about my health this season because not a lot of people knew that. At the ending of last season, I was somehow diagnosed with prediabetes. I do not know how I got that, and I noticed my body going through changes. I went through different diets. I tried to go to a diet that's called ketogenic, and that's like no carbs. And as a sportsman, to have no carbs, that's really a tough thing to do because that's our energy source. And then at the start of this season, I actually started with a groin and a hamstring. So I wasn't starting very healthy. And I just believe that I'm just going to do what I've been doing all this time. I push through everything. I play whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, sick, injured. And I just wanted to try to at least have my body be able to behave in a position that keeps me fit. So for me, I didn't really worry too much about myself because I know what I'm capable of. I just wanted to make sure that I had those dogs around me that were gonna help me to be able to achieve what the goal was. And luckily, we had some guys that were very in tune with how to take constructive criticism and implementing a system. And I think that's what I value the most. And I know my position this season was a little bit uh, unfamiliar from the people that were criticizing me based on where I am because I was playing more of a deeper role. But I'm a number 6, I'm a 10, and I'm a number 8. So based on how I move and based on what I do, the guys around the team sort of filter around that. And that's why I think we are able to be successful. And a lot of us are versatile in that manner. But I did want to make sure my body was in shape because I know, a successful team is a healthy team. Um, but I did nurse a lot of different injuries this season, 6 or 7 to be exact. Um, but I was able to push through with the help of my team for sure.
Sure. Now, we're still talking about the beginning of the season. A couple of years ago, Naeem was taking a commitment with Balco, so he was not a regular in the team.
Uh,
You lost the services of Rakeem, um, but you gained Jalen Batha. I'm just talking about the defense part. How big of a capture is Jalen for your defense setup?
I honestly, if you do, you remember Liverpool a couple seasons ago when they had Mo Salah, Mane, Firmino. They had
Hmm.
bombs scored and they were scoring all the goals, but they didn't really have insurance down the back. But when
Right.
they bought Van Dijk the next year, now they're in
Yes.
competition and winning everything. I
Hmm.
think that is a similar parallel that I spoke to him about because we had a lot of guns. Myself, Twan, Trey, Rike, a lot of those boys are really good scorers. But it was a lot of pressure because we felt like we had to always outscore teams in the time that we don't, and they outscored us. That was pivotal. We only lost like 4 games that season, and we lost at any time every single time. But
Hmm.
getting Jalen Batha to really ensure our defense was it kind of like bought us time to score. And then this season we averaged 1 goal every 28 minutes, so
Hmm.
we still was striking as well. But the important thing about our system, which is what Jalen Batha allows us to do, everyone is like a threat to score. And
Hmm.
that's really tough for teams to have to defend. I mean, I knew this one week Abe was getting a hat trick, then the next week
Yeah.
our striker, then the next week our winger, right? And saying these guys are getting a lot of a recognition for what they've been doing. When even in my opinion, their true value isn't just being a scorer, but
Hmm.
everyone's number was called and they answered the bell. And I think Jalen Baffert was a testament to a lot of those things that were able to go right. So I'm really happy to pick him up. I was talking to him at the beginning of the season. I said, Jay, I ain't got a selling point for you. Everyone's leaving, but I know what we need. And
Hmm.
he said, all right, cool. I'm coming to win the league. And this is his exact words. And I started him, I saved him, and so said, so done.
You two are funny on the field together.
Yeah. We was good at it last time there. Yeah, we
But
had a good.
one of the people we noted who stands out but don't get a lot of credit is Dayon Lodge
Absolutely.
in the midfield. He's a clogger. He's a ball winner. He's not a flashy player, but he does the simple things very, very well. Talk a bit about him.
I honestly, he's one of the guys that we were talking to at the beginning of the season. What is he going to do? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He was asking me, and he actually gave me a lot of confidence to do what I do because I know he's going to stay. And his role is, of course, that role that, I think you have to have a guy like that in your team that's going to accept that he's not going to get much praise, especially from the non-football heads. They're not going to see his value. But it's like what they used to say about Busquets in Barcelona. They say if you're watching the game, you don't see Busquets, but if you watch Busquets, you'll see the whole game. And I always felt like if he's not always involved in the goals and assists, then he's doing his job right. I mean, the guy breaks up counterattacks. The guy gives the ball to our creative players to do what they need to do. And I think you need a guy in that team. And he looks for me. He looks to find my patterns. And I am so happy that he was able to stay healthy as well this season, because I know he was nursing a couple of injuries as well. But his value, I'm happy that you brought his name up, because I know Maceo was speaking about him a couple of times and messing his name up. But yeah, Dayon Lodge, that's the guy right there. And I'm happy he's getting his credit.
Yeah. And of course, the introduction of Paul Simons makes a big difference as well. I mean, because you lose what you lost in Antoine, you picked up in Paul. And Paul this season, his strength, both with back to goal and facing goal, added to what you guys were able to bring with your youngsters that came through the PAC program. So talk a little bit about Paul.
Man, I find a hard time giving Paul some credit because we got a lot of rivalries growing up in elementary school. But he deserves it, and I'm going to give it to him. But yeah, so me and Paul going way back to our primary school. So we played indoor with each other a whole lot. So we really have some chemistry that we still have, even though we hadn't played with each other for a long time. But I think this was his first season as well in Brazilian football, like first full season, because he'll show some cameos every now and then for Crossroads. And I'm happy to see that one thing about him, he's the best player like that we need in that particular moment. Like he's not particularly, one of my coaches told me, he's not trying to be like the best player like on the team, but he's trying to be the best player like for the team. And I think that he realizes where his value is in certain moments of the game. And I think that's what's valuable to us. And all of us are versatile, and a lot of us are two-way players, meaning attack and defense. Like I don't get much credit for my defensive work, but I'm astute at that. Abe as well, Tasai, even Keyshawn can do that, and Paul, Darren, left back as well, DeAndre Lightborn. A lot of us can play both sides of the ball, right? And Paul is one of them. So one of our systems that we have this year is high pressing. A lot of teams from here don't really play out the back like that. But when they try to do, we actually spring in professional systems on there, and we've got guys that are really executing that at a high level and are understanding how to adjust. And that's another way he's proved his value in our team, as well as chipped in with some goals. And he had a good run for the Golden Boot. I believe if he wouldn't have missed some games, I think he definitely would have been able to got that, no question. But I'm happy that he's in our team, and he really got to show people what he actually can do. And I actually believe he can do more from what I've seen. But yeah, great pickup.
Yeah. What we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Dudley Eve that started the season. And
all right. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Bai Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Bai delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Bai are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Well, Marco, the season gets underway with the Dudley Eve Cup competition. You guys are drawn in a group with, Group B, that had 4 teams, yourself, Crossroads, Somerset, and Boulevard. You guys run off some impressive performances, impressive results during that time. Take us through the group stage mindset that it looked real easy for PHC. Hold on one second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that sort of reminds me of one of the questions I think one of the reporters were asking me is like, are we peaking a little too early? And my response to that was no, I don't think so. I just believe that we were really gung-ho to see where we are because we lost a lot of guys. We gained some pieces. We're implementing a new system. And although you can have some preseason results that go your way, of course, guys are going to be like, well, that's just preseason. So we really wanted to test ourselves against everybody and use each team as a measuring stick to see where we are. And we were hoping to play against the biggest teams as soon as possible so we can know that. So, yeah, we came out the blocks really quickly. I think we beat Crossroads like 6-0. I think the next game was 6-0 again or something like that against Somerset. Somerset Trojans. Yeah. And then I think when we played Village, I think we lost like 1-0. We had like 2 red cards that game as well. So coming into that particular part of the season, we really wanted to know where we was. And I think that a lot of our losses kind of came at a great time, as strange as that sounds. But yeah, and I think that was one of them.
Yeah. I mean, well, just the way you guys came out of the blocks really, really fast against Boulevard on a hot. I think it was the Monday, the holiday.
Yeah, I think we played them after they beat us. I think no, I don't think it was that day game. I think it was a night game at the Rack. They played us at our field in the league and beat us 1-0, and then they played us in the Dudley Eve, I think midweek, and beat us 1-0 down the Rack. So they beat us. They started off beating us twice. Yeah, 2 1-0s.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's how that went.
Yeah, but then in the night out the Rack where you play at Somerset, I was looking at that Somerset team saying, what is going wrong? But not really paying attention to everything you guys were doing right at the time. If you look at it that night, you could do no wrong.
Yeah, that night a lot of things were falling for us, but I think that was just a testament of us doing the right things. I believe I missed a penalty that game too. Yeah, Jay made a save. Yeah. So we still was able to create chances and still cause them problems and reap the benefits of that, of course.
Now you switch that mindset. You're in that Dudley Eve, but then you get into the league. That memorable night, of course, that was the big night, the first night game at PHC in a number of years. You're going up against a big rival in North Village. Was the stage too big for some? I
think we were very, very anxious, and you could say that with some of our players that were not so much experienced for that moment. But I think that even though the stage may have been too big for some, we still have some of the leaders to help those guys push through. And that was a lesson for us as well, to help bring those guys through and don't leave them out on an island by themselves. I even remember the way one of I think the team scored on the set piece. One of our young players were, feeling like at fault for that. But we got to take accountability to help put him in the right positions to succeed. And like I said, not leave them on an island. But yeah, I say we were very anxious in that moment. And to that, I can't wait when Village gets their lights, and I hope we're the first game of the season too. So
I was going to ask you that. Wouldn't it be fitting if you had to christen their lights?
Yeah, I hope they give us that honor. I don't know what Sheriff's thinking, but I'd like to see him about that. That's for sure.
You own one.
Yeah, we own one. Goodness gracious.
But as you get into the season, obviously, I'm disappointed with that first game loss, but then you guys seem to settle the ship. You tend to get on this run, and one of the things, and again, you've already brought it up. One of the things that was noted even last season, how you would go back so deep and get the ball. You and I had a conversation last season about it, and you explained to me that you weren't the front players weren't getting the deliveries that they needed to get in order to be able to create those chances. So you took it upon yourself to be the one that's going to be creative and then try to catch up the play. This season, not so much.
So I remember speaking to you about that at Rangers, because people were asking about that as well, and I just believe it was a real talking point that people were explaining to me about how I need to play. But I really have a strong sense of where I need to be and what I need to do in every single team I've played in. And I really needed people to listen to me about that. I didn't feel like people were listening to me. Right. So I said, well, look, if I stand up top and don't get the ball, then I can't affect the game, and I'm going to be adjudged for being non-existent. So I go and I get the ball where I see fit. I'm one of the best movers in the game off the ball, and I go find my teammates based off the passing game that I have, because I can think the game very well tactically. And I needed people to trust me on that. But I just don't know if people haven't seen anything like me to believe that was possible. So that's why this year I'm glad to put a stop to that, because that was actually a criticism that was getting on my nerves. But it got on my nerves in the right way, because I put forth that energy to kind of prove people wrong about that. So this season, not so much. But I still did that from time to time to make sure my team was progressing the ball and making sure the guys were getting fed. Because when my creative players aren't getting the ball, I feel like it's my duty to do that. But this season, I think if I do play the last game, I'm not sure. I finished on 16 goals and I had 27 assists, and I've created 75 chances for my team to score. So whether or not, what I'm doing is efficient, and I'm involved in 45% of my team's goals. We scored 94 when I'm on the field, and I'm involved in 45% of that. So I think that's a testament to what I was doing. And I took my statistics the first time in my life this year, and that's pretty much what I ended up on in, I think, 27 all games. Right.
So when you look at those numbers, because that's what the game is coming down to, and people need to understand. The game is down to statistics, numbers, creating, winning the ball, losing the ball, distributing the ball, passing percentage, heading percentage. All of that is part of the game, and that's being exposed with more people watching the game and the analysts that come out with all the statistics. So when you look at that, I remember 1 year assisting at Southampton Rangers, and I had one of the players have a stopwatch, and we drew a number out of a hat, and it was the number 10. So every time the number 10 won the ball, had possession of the ball, you start the stopwatch, and when he let the ball go, you stop the stopwatch. I was then counting how many passes he gave away, how many times he, was a good pass or a pass to a teammate and so forth. Throughout that whole process in that one game, because I asked everybody, how did you think he played? And what did you think? How long did you think he had the ball? He had an outstanding game. Probably about 5 minutes. Well, the reality was He had the ball for 1 minute and 13 seconds in a 90-minute game.
Wow.
He
Yes.
gave away the ball 10 times. He
Man.
gave his teammate a pass 13 times. But the reality is, when you start showing people those numbers and you break it down, it's a different reality of a whole football game.
That's for sure. That's for sure. When I found it a long time ago that the average player has the ball like a minute and a half or something in a game.
Yeah.
That really put context to what you do the other 88 minutes, I guess, that you're playing. It's really a real
Yeah.
thing, though. So
Yeah.
that's why I did take some statistics this year just to put some context to what I was doing, because I was taking a lot of heat for that. And if anybody knows, I'm a passionate guy. So when I'm gung ho for something, I know I have a point. I just have to find a way to make that point so people can listen to me. But now to add some trophies to the method that I was going about things, I think that adds some credibility to me.
Yeah. I just want to go back a little bit. How much of not winning a trophy last year did that personally hurt you?
Oh, I wanted to cry. Like, you know, if anybody sees us running up Kilimanjaro, that, oh my goodness, like, and then to come up short in that regard with the talent that we had, I don't even know how that happened to this day. But if I put it down to anything, one thing, it's just that we didn't really have a real direction that we were going. It was many different philosophies going on across the team, and I think we were going out there with talent rather than with just talent and strategy. I think this year we realized that, you know, when you're not like the best team overall like that, you have to be a little bit more strategic than you're going out and just playing. And we took that strategy to every team that we played. And battles against St. George, I mean, we beat those boys 4 times. And start them out 3 times. And this is no disrespect to them, but to shut those boys out, this guy score goals for fun. And we shot out 3 times. And we had to do that to get over the hump. So I think that's a testament to a lot of the work that my team put in and the coaching staff as well.
Sure. I mean, if you look at, and I'm going to talk about the league itself, the league losses, and I believe you guys you lost what, 3 times, 4 times?
I think we lost 3.
Yeah.
I think it was Cougars Village once, and Parish. Yeah, Parish.
Yes. But looking at those setbacks, they came at a time where you had enough time to recover. But it kind of, 3 losses, 15 wins, 3 losses, no draws. You guys, it's either win or lose, right?
Hey, I was thinking that too when I looked at these stats. I was like, wow, we ain't drawing again. But then I look at the teams who did. I'm like, shoot, it's so tight. That's like a loss right now.
Yes.
So like, and I look at like how you said, but like I said before, like the timing of those losses came at such a great time. Even the Parish one, it humbled us a bit more.
Right.
And they 6 at our home field, scored early because we got away with starting slow so many games, and then they put behind 2 goals, and now we're chasing the game, and now that team that, you know, isn't really in competition, they have belief now. So now they're a different team. And I told my boys, look, like everybody is bringing the A game against us. Like, I'm not trying to like put us on some pedestal, but like everyone will look at the schedule and go, like, okay, we're gonna play Zebras. Let's circle that date in our calendar and let's bring our A game. And that's part of what I believe makes the great players legends. Is because everyone is trying to have the best game against that guy, and that guy still does what he does against everyone's A game. So I think like that's what we had to realize, that people are gonna bring the A game against us. We cannot bring anything less. And once we realized that, I think that's what kept us on our P's and Q's, dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and making sure we didn't start the game chasing the game. And we had some times where we chased the game and we showed a lot of character. We came back against Cougars in our home field down twice. Right? In a lot of those windows. We went down 1-0 in extra time against Parish, who beat us 4-0, and then we equalized a couple seconds afterwards, and then go into the game scoring 2 more goals. So I think we showed really, really great character this season. So we felt like if we have any team chasing the game against us, they're not going to want to see us. And I think that when we go up, teams in trouble.
When you even just talking about that, I mean, like you said, that the last loss was the Parish loss, and that humbled you and made you realize that you have to show up from the time the referee blows the whistle, or even the warm up. You know, like you said, within 6 minutes you're down 2-0, and now you have to. Although it's still 84 minutes to go, you got to get back in the game. You know, you got to come out of character at some point in time, because as the minutes go on, they're in control.
Yep, exactly. And when you chase games like that, you leave yourself vulnerable, and then they go and score on a counterattack, and then you're down 3, and now you're trying to chase another one, then you're down 4, and then you're embarrassed in your home field. That's how it goes. All right. So, but we had to understand, like, the hardest thing to do in any sport is really to be consistent. So winning the league really was a testament to our consistency. So we got some good wake-up calls at great times.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that they came at the right. Your defeats came at the right time. What we're going to do, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with Marco Warren, the captain of the Pembroke Hamilton Club Zebras. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, you know, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, Marco, when you get to the halfway mark, North Village are leading. North Village are leading the league. You guys in contention. What's the talk? Because, and I'm talking before you're playing North Village on New Year's Day. Yeah, when the first half of the season wraps up,
Yeah.
you know, you're still chasing them.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's good to have something to chase. And I mean, I don't know too much about marathon running, but I believe that if I'm to run 24 for me and I see people in front of me, it gives me something to, you know, push for. But when I'm gotta be the one to set the pace, it's like you don't want to go too fast, and you don't want to go too slow. So pace is a really good motivating factor for us, especially since it was the team that beat us, that we felt like that match got away. And I know a lot of times you lose a close match, you feel like that match got away from you. But we were just in chase mode. We really just had to make sure that we have to keep the pressure on them and just get to the part where we have to play them, because we didn't want to leave the league in anyone else's hands to give us any favors. But yeah, we was hoping that of course they would slip up. But we knew that the competition was high throughout the league, so anything could happen, and anything could happen to them, and anything could happen to us. So we just had to make sure that we win our games, and, you know, keep putting pressure on them.
Sure. So let's talk about New Year's Day. You know, North Village, PHC up at Somerset Cricket Club, a high intense game. Early in the second half, I believe it was a 50-50 challenge. You went in with your foot, I can't remember who the other player was, but you both blocked the ball. You came out kind of on a bad end of that. Because I noted, just watching the rest, how you were favoring your right ankle, was it, or your right foot?
Yeah, my right ankle.
Yeah, and how much involved you were getting, because prior to that you were involved in a lot of stuff, but then you were picking your times to be involved after that. Um,
Yeah, that
just
was
talk about that survival mode, um, from that time there to the end for you.
man. I know who the player was, but I'm gonna leave his name out of it just out of respect for him because I talked to him after that. He didn't really mean anything, and neither did I. It was a 50-50 that I feel like I went in really too soft. And
Right.
I haven't been tackling as much as I have been this season because I do realize my value in the team is my presence. So yeah, I went to the tackle soft and I came out on the wrong side of it very, very bad. I got a grade 2 ankle sprain, and I for the first time looked at the bench as to say I might have to come off in this one. But my team knows when I'm hurt, like something actually is the case.
Right.
So I just remember just denying that in my mind again. But look, I'm staying on the field, period. And I know to some people they don't like that because they feel like someone else can come on and do a better job and whatever. But I just believe, like how I said, it's about my presence for the team. And once
Mm.
the team saw me kind of struggling and hampering through to kind of get them over the finish line, they had some extra energy source from watching me go through that pain because they see how I work, they see how I train. A lot of the people that are having their first seasons with me, they get to see me up close to really see how I behave and the mentality that I have. And in their respect for that, they was going to make sure that the result went our way. And of course, with a little bit of luck, it does. But I believe you at times can earn your luck. But yeah, that injury kind of bothered me for the next 3 weeks or so. But
Mm.
that was a monumental thing. And I think I can't remember if it was before or after I got the injury. It was a penalty.
Yeah,
And
it was. You got the penalty after the injury.
yeah, so and that's why I stay on because I knew it would be a moment, and
Mm.
I want the team to win and lose by my mistakes because I couldn't live with someone else's mistakes as much as I could live with mine.
Right,
And
right.
that same day I was out practicing the exact same shot, and it fortunately went in the back of the net, and that was the moment that took us over the finish line. When it comes from girls, so
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I know that because I'm one of those people. I always watch emotions of people, um, and just how they react when they win and when they lose, kind of thing.
Uh,
That day, New Year's Day, I watched how your reaction was more of a relief. This game's over. Well, won something now.
mm.
Did you get a sense of that?
Absolutely. The feeling shot through my body like I haven't felt since my mate Darren Usher scored FA Cup final goal, and I think it was 2017 or 2018 season that we hadn't won anything and lost in three. And I just felt like the weight of so many criticisms that I had over the course of my career of being too small, of not being too vocal, of how my leadership isn't going to particularly get teams to get over the finish line. And I just believe that even the criticism that I had as a player, playing too deep and stuff like that, and how that was, easy for teams to counteract. I just felt that weight go off my shoulders, and now I felt like this is the winning championship pedigree that our team needed to prove that we can actually continuously compete for the league and other competitions. And it meant a lot for everybody else as well to see how much it meant to myself. And I don't want to make this like about me, but I
Mm.
believe my team really, really came through for me because that match after the injury, I kind of felt like a liability on the field trying to hamper through. But I just believe that done something for my team's psyche to help them push through.
Yeah, because even at the presentation, you were sitting in a chair when you weren't going to get the
Yeah,
trophy.
yeah, yeah. I was sitting in the chair. Next day, I was in a boot. Um, so I just
Yeah,
didn't
even
want
the team photo with the trophy the next day, you were hiding in the back. You were hiding your boot in the back.
to. Yeah, I didn't want nobody to see that. But I I saw my mate Lejean Simmons plays for the
Uh,
Cougars outside of some food shop, And I was like, man, the news is gonna spread soon. And he actually had Cougars the next week.
Right.
So I spoke to my mate Craig Braun. He was very, very helpful throughout the course of this season because I've had 6 or 7 injuries.
Right.
And once they told me at the MRI it was a minor tear, I was like, I could do this because I had something like this before.
Right.
But just not being able to accelerate and decelerate, it was a tough thing to push through. But I've been pushing the injuries my whole life. Especially playing. If anybody plays in college, they know that if you miss 2 or 3 weeks, you miss about 5, 6 games, and that could in college always encourage me to sometimes push through if I can. And sometimes I test that extreme, but that's just what that's what I've become. I think that you're a player my size, you gotta kind of be a little bit over the top when it comes to your toughness, so you can get away from that take of small. But that's my reality.
Yeah. So the second half of the season starts. You're still, like I said, you're still chasing North Village, but now you guys have got that kind of monkey off your back. You've won a trophy. You now look forward, game by game, and I know because you and I have had that conversation as well. You look at game by game. Don't look down the road. How much of that played into the role of a leader that you made sure that your players didn't look at who you were playing next week as opposed to who you were playing today? Because you had teams like Robin Hood, you had Somerset struggling, you had Crossroads struggling, and when you had to play those teams, you had to play them on the day, not worry about who you're playing next week.
Exactly, and that goes back to what I was talking about before, which is that every team's going to try to bring their A game against us. So we cannot disrespect that team by looking across them, because I believe that's a sign of disrespect to your competition, albeit human nature. We're all humans. We know we can get across that team with ease, and let's look to the next one. But I think what stops us from being a victim of our own nature is we can't wait to play the next game. Like I believe that's because we were playing so well. The chances were coming to everybody. The ball was moving and flowing from one person to the next, and everyone was secure in the value of the team. They just couldn't wait for whatever the next game was. And, I think that helped us to avoid that trap. But you have to look at one game at a time, especially over the course of a league season or any season in general, because you got to get that result. And it's just like what people will say when you have a game in hand. I mean, I think points in the board is rather better than games in hand.
Yeah, because if you got to play that game, you don't have the points on the board.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. So that game in hand does not mean 3 points.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we were very professional in our mindset with that. So kudos to our coaching staff for keeping us in that mode.
Yeah. In that second half, some of the youngsters stepped right up. I mean, you look at Xavi, you look at Sealy. I mean, these guys went on a tear, and even you said his name earlier, tall midfielder.
Dejan Lodgen Tasai.
No.
Ed.
Ed. I mean, he went a couple of weeks scoring every game, and then there went Janico scoring, and Nisbet scoring, and guys stepped up. Not saying that you and Paul weren't creating chances. It's just they were just scoring the goals, and how much of that takes pressure off of kind of the quote unquote the mainstay guys if you're getting goals from so many other areas.
Oh, I loved every second of that, and it was just fantastic to see Janico come back at a great time. Honestly, man, I think so many things happened at a great time for us this season because he was injured. He didn't really get to do a preseason, so he came in his first game against Boulevard, and I think he got a hat trick that game as well. And Abe got a hat trick versus St. George's, great hat trick, I must say. My goodness. And then Chevy Nisbet, not so much experience, but coming into his own this season to prove himself. And I think that, of course, under the leadership that we have and the system that we have, these guys were allowed to flourish. And at that particular time, that's what we needed. And that, like you're saying, that does take a lot of pressure off your main scorers. And it takes pressure off of your defense, because no one feels like they can't make a mistake. You know what I mean? And when you're flourishing like that, you got to really you ride that wave until it's done. And I know at some point when those players, stop scoring or whatever, we had to make sure that they understood that their value is not just that, right?
Mm.
And I think that's why most people in our team made sure that they were the best player that the team needed at that particular moment. But yeah, those guys went on a tear and they got us racked up some points for us. And I think that, like you're right, that definitely takes pressure off of your main scorers. That's for sure.
Yeah. We had 9 players in the Premier Division scoring 10 plus goals. PAC had 3 of those players. Paul with
wow.
16, you with 11, and Janico with 10.
Oh shoot, didn't know that. Thanks for that. I didn't know.
St. George's had 2 players. Cougars had 2 players. Parish had 1, and Crossroads had 1. But you look at it, and that's I guess the nucleus of when you start looking at that, because you guys scored in the league 66 goals. And those goals were timely goals and at the right time, at the helping you across the line. And even the wins, the big wins, goals breed confidence, especially for a guy who hasn't scored a goal. That's what you're looking forward to.
That's for sure. Because a lot of them you wouldn't say like a really main like scorers, but they should have a goal scoring touch to them, which is a testament to, like I said, a lot of guys are two-way players on our team. They can defend and they can score. I don't think you always have to be like a specialist,
right?
But then what the team needs, and they execute it. And I think that, and I'm happy they did. Takes pressure off me. What I was doing, I was dropping deep and trying to create chances for our team, progressing the ball, and that's what I do. That's how I play the game. I play the game honest, and I'm happy to see my teammates reap the benefits of some of their hard work. Because I see some of these guys go out and train on their own, and it's called extras, but I think they're called, in my opinion, necessaries, because you will see the benefits of that work you put in. It's really no secret. But yeah, those boys added some good goals for us.
Sure. We're going to take our final commercial break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of Walk Down Memory Lane, looking back at the 2022-2023 season.
All right.
Marco Warren. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seen this?
And welcome back. Well, Marco, 3 teams in the Premier Division this year only gave up 17 goals in the league. Your goalkeeper in his first full season as a starter, he shared time last year. Talk a little bit about the youngster, because he came of age.
Yep, he did. And for a young goalkeeper to do that under the pressure that he was under, because a lot of the times this league season, every game was crucial. And that guy really had to step up for us to make sure. And honestly, a good goalkeeper is so underrated. Oh my goodness, it's so underrated. And for him to do what he done, I couldn't have been more happy with his performance and where he's come mentally, as a player, as a young player. And like I say, the hardest thing to do is to be consistent, especially for young players. And I think he needs deserves a lot of credit for what we've done this league season and what we're going to do going forward if he so chooses to stay in Bermuda with his talent. I'm surprised that it's still here, but I'm happy that he is here. But at the same time, I like to see that sort of talent go as far as possible. But yeah, he's done so great for us, and he's done a lot to understand our offense and to understand how he can help us organize our defense. So a lot of credit to CJ for that.
Yeah, it was. I've noted in a few games, despite being young, the defenders listen to the instructions being given to him most of the time. And you know, the few times I've watched you guys play, he's given instructions to senior players, including Jalen, who take it, because obviously the goalkeeper sees more than everybody else from the position in which he holds. So just to see that and to see how the information is respected and they go on about the business helps the team grow together, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that's true. Definitely that's true, because the goalkeeper, you know, in my opinion, gets the most time to think on the field, because he's going to have the ball the last. We talk about the average player having 1 minute on the ball or 1.5. I don't know what he gets. A couple seconds. You know what I mean? I don't know what to count a tip save for, you know. But yeah, so he gets the most time to think. So I put a lot of onus on him to make sure he organizes as well. And he knows when I drop deep, he's gonna look for me, and he doesn't care, and he respects my talent, and I respect his as well. And a lot of the times, what I like from young players is when they're humble enough to ask the older players what to do. It sounds like a simple thing, but a lot of people just don't do that, and I respect that, and I always give him as honest of an opinion as I can give him. And you know, he's growing in leaps and bounds. I think Chevy Nisbet does that as well. And credit to Shaquille Trott for being his goalkeeper coach as well and helping him through.
Yeah. You come under a lot of pressure from spectators around. Obviously, everybody watch your dad play, and then you know it's always that quote unquote comparison type of thing. How do you handle that?
Sometimes I handle it by not handling it, but sometimes I handle it by soaking it up and using it as of course motivation. There's one particular fan, Boulevard fan, that gives me a hard time about that. And she was talking about that particular situation. I said, well, you know, he's the original, but I'm the remix. You know what I mean? So I just embrace being the remix, because I haven't really played on the field with my dad much. A couple times in indoor and twice in this church kick. And what the flashes that I see kind of blow my mind. And I've seen a lot of players around the world, but players impress you, but he actually blows my mind with the stuff he thinks of and his execution. And that's when he was like 40-something, 50. So I couldn't imagine what he was doing. So if they want to compare me to that, fine, go right ahead. But I'm not going to do that. So I'll let the fans do that. But I'd like to play against him, that's for sure. But I'm the remix. I'll take the remix. Yeah, I'd like to play against him because I like to defend. See, that's what I like to do. I like to defend, but I like to learn from what his patterns are. All right? And my mom tells me all the time that I play in a similar way that he does. The only difference is he's a lefty and I'm a righty. And I think I would have loved to see him up close. I guess is what I'm saying. But I only got to see that when he's older. But I heard a lot about him.
Yeah, I got to see him up close.
I ought to kick this butt, man. Come on, man.
They always say, first you got to catch him.
Yeah, that's it, right?
But again,
I respect him a lot.
It was a respect thing because you always wanted the best players on the field, and you always wanted to beat the best player while he was on the field. So by kicking him means he's got to go off, and then you can, you know, if I wouldn't have gone off, you wouldn't have done this, and
Yeah, but pay that guy is good, man. That guy is fantastic.
Yeah. And he was with a team at the time that they all had a passion for the game and they worked as a unit. Yeah. Much like you guys right now. I mean, if you look at the team that you guys have been putting out all season, the mixture of youth and seasoned players, it's worked well. It's worked well. Of course, I had disappointments, like anything else in life. You have your ups and
Yeah,
you have
sure.
your downs.
Very
But
true.
it's how do you bounce back from those losses? And I think you guys have proven with the 2 trophies that you've won this year, you've been able to overcome those type of challenges that you've had, both on and off the field. I mean, I'm pretty sure that because you talked about your injuries, I'm pretty sure there are a number of players that went through some battles personally, physical, mental, all that type of stuff. Because at the end of the day, you're amateur players. You have a life outside of the game. You have families. You have all these other responsibilities. But for that 90 minutes or whatever, the 3 hours of the gaming block, you're able to block all that out, play a game that you really, really enjoy and love, and then you have to go back to that personal life type thing.
That's true. That's true. And honestly, that's the beauty of just football, but sports in general, is that you have that particular arena that you can step into, and everything else is just goes out the window, and all that matters is what goes on in that game. In that game, and I think that some players find it hard to channel that mentality like that. But I think for those that do really find an escape in that, because life is hard, man, and I think that sports gives people not only a learning post for life, but also like an escape thing, and it's like the perfect combination for me. And I think I recommend any person who's raising a child to at least get their child in not just music and dance, but some sports. That's for sure. But that's why I take our league so seriously, Mr. Bazin, because I know what this has done for me as a person, and I know what this has done for some of my friends who could have been in different situations. And a lot of the older guys can attest to this, of where they could have been in whatever it's the streets or whatever life they could have lived if it weren't for football. A lot of those guys could attest to that. And I think that that's why I really am an advocate for making a league that's as best as it can be locally, because I believe that also affects our national team. And right, and I believe that it's a way to do this with the pool of players that we have, albeit that a lot of our best players are going abroad, and the talent that we have here isn't as great as it could be when it talk about the development and things of that nature. But I think I would like to put that idea that we have to continuously make this league as best as it can be, also from a documentation standpoint, from footage, from statistics, everything. All right, because that's going to trickle down to our next generation. I do not want the generation come after me complaining about the same things that I'm complaining about right now. So that's why I'm for that. And so I would like at some point to see if we can create like some sort of players union, so players have a voice for this. Things like particular issues. Like I was talking to some players recently, and I was just asking, do you think that because I was coming to the game one time, and I'm like, okay, my girlfriend's got my newborn, and I'm in the game as well. My team was playing that game, and I'm like, I would like, if I'm a player, that I can have a +1 free ticket, because we don't get paid to play, right? We do have outside jobs, and I wonder if anything could be done about that. Because when the referees come from foreign, and the referees when we have here, they get paid, and I'm not trying to like find out what's fair and what's not, and who deserves this and who's not. I'm just trying to work out some type of medium that players can actually have something, because we are the resource of this league, and that can't be understated. And just like without the referees, it can't be done. Just like how the higher up officials, it can't be done. And just like how without us, this league can't be done. So I think we need something for the players, if there's anything can be done. And if that's too much to ask, then I don't know what we can really ask for.
Right. But that's a good suggestion, and I think it's about time we did have a quote unquote players union, because the way we operate, the people with the least amount of voice are you, the players.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You, the players.
That's for sure. Yeah. And of course I have thousands of other ideas, and I'm gonna be making them known, especially because now I may miss the final. Due to a honestly unfair yellow card that I got in the recent match against Boulevard, my dad's old team.
Right.
Because I look at the yellow card situation of how it spans from one competition to the next. I got a card in the league, and I missed an FA Cup competition, and I may not be able to take part in the final because of that. And it's only 3 cards. So it is what it is. But I always look to see what we can change to make better. But yeah, I'm always being forerunner for that. So if we can make a players union at some point, I think that'd be great.
I'm going to touch on 2 things that you've already touched on. The emotion of your firstborn being at a game and you ended up scoring in the winner. How did that make you feel?
Man, I was so happy that he was able to be at the game and the weather was very appropriate for him. Albeit the guy slept through the whole game, so that's why I'm happy that we got the picture and the girl. But I felt like you know, that particular day that he was born, we were playing against I think it was Wolves, and we had 11:45 kickoff, and we hadn't had that all season. But this particular day, it happened, and I told my coach that day, because not only was I battling the pre-diabetic stuff with my body, right? It was like, because my girlfriend was pregnant and with child, that my body, I didn't have any like oomph to it, like it's like it didn't want to. So, and I told my coach before the game, I said, Coach, my body's feeling so different this game. I think she's close. And ask him, he'll tell you that I said those exact words. And right after the final whistle blew, I got a phone call, come to the hospital. So I came, and you know, I'm expecting to see her in a wheelchair or something like that. I don't know. And then she's walking on the hallway after I actually directed where she is. So walking on the hallway, and then I'm like, well, what's the deal? She's like, well, I got to go to the ER. And I'm like, well, why are you here? So we found the maternity unit, and we go up there, and the doctor says, we gotta have the baby. So anyhow, make a long story short, hopped off the field, hopped in the waiting room, baby's born, and then, you know, a week later, I think, or so, was still in the hospital, and then a week after that, we had the village game, and then I scored that goal, and that's why I did the signature thumbs up thing signal for the baby. As his first game, I fittingly scored. It's been a lot of things that have some great timing this year. And the one more thing I like to add is we have 99 goals scored this whole league and competition with cups, and we got to get that number 100 this Sunday. So there's been some pretty cool things written in the stars, but I really do hope we bring this home. So whether I play or not, I still have faith in my boys, and just like I was, you know, kind of non-existent in that final, I'm not going to be on the field if they do not grant me this appeal. And I believe my boys are going to do that anyway. But yeah, it's been some good things.
And the last thing, I mean, you mentioned it, and it raised my eyebrows, because a lot of people are really, really puzzled why you're not involved with the national team. You've been one of the most outstanding players in local football, dominating this league for a number of years. And you said, you know, people judge you by your size, but size doesn't always matter. What do you say about that?
Well, of course, you know, size is always a thing, because I'm 5'4", 115, and to exist at that size, I'm not foolish. I understand that that's a complete anomaly, but that's why it's so hard for people to really see what I can do, because they've never really seen anything like me at this size. I mean, I doubt that, and doing what I do, playing both sides of the ball, defense and attack, dribble, shoot, pass, all that type of stuff. But I just don't believe I'm, you know, many people's prototype. So I'm always going to be known as a unicorn. And if you know anything about like the NBA draft or whatever, they'll say, well, this next player is going to do this because he looks like a Charles Barkley mixed with a, they always try to use players that they've seen before to see what the players that are coming up can do. And that's why guys like Stephen Curry do what they do, because no one planned for that, right? No one knew what he was actually going to be able to do. He was taken for granted because he's not anyone's prototype. And I feel like that's how I am. So when I perform on the field, I really have to leave no doubts that I can perform. Like, I have to be like almost unmistakable, or else that tag is going to come under me that I'm quote unquote too small. Because we all see like how the bigger players, they always get a lot of chances no matter how many times they fail. But the smaller guys, the quick, small, agile guys are always getting that label. But I just think that's just a result of whatever the culture believes in, whatever, some type of football. But barring that, like, me being out of the national team is also down to like what I don't know how my body's going to behave. Like I said, the pre-diabetics and now my body coming back into more normalcy with you know, my baby now being born, and I feel like my body is back, I can look into that decision a little bit more deeper. But I actually did not know what my body was going to do. And at 5'4", 115, I have to know. I have to know. So that's another thing that keeps me out. But I would like to still be around the team so they can use my mind and how I think about the game. But that just depends on if they have similar ideas. You know, because I really do take it seriously, the tactical approach that I have to the game.
Right.
But yeah, those guys do that.
I know one thing, and I'm not the only one. It will be a magical day the day we see you in a Bermuda jersey representing the country.
Thank you.
And I know that day is coming sooner rather than later. I know for
Thank
sure.
I,
All right?
I really appreciate that, man. That means a lot. That
Yeah.
definitely means a lot. Because I know there's a lot of people that come out to watch me play for sure.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And
Marcus, thank you very much. Huh?
One more thing, EB. The best thing about that is that there's foreign teams, they don't know me. The local teams play me a little different because they know me. But them guys, they don't know. They don't know.
Here's a little big guy around here.
Yeah. He's a small guy here.
After 10 minutes, they'll be saying, "No, somebody's got to stand on him."
Yeah. But that's all good. By that time, hopefully be too late.
Yeah, way too late. Yeah. Well, Marcus, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I've appreciated your time. Enjoyed the talk, and hopefully the people that have been watching has enjoyed listening to you. And good luck to PHC on the final day of the FA Cup. And you know, it's going to be a lot of transition over the summer break, but hopefully PHC could hold on to this team here and come back and defend their title, because it'd be very interesting to see what happens next year.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me. This has been a complete honor to talk to a guy like you who's did a whole lot for not just Bermuda football, but for the coverage of everything, man. We need guys like you for sure. So you're definitely invaluable, bro. So keep doing what you're doing, man. A lot of us appreciate this. Trust me. So keep it up, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Have a good night. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.